Economic Development Commission meeting. Today is October 21st, 2025. It is 5:05 PM. Do we want to do a full roll call or just make note that Natalia will not be joining us today?
Yeah, so I would just probably do a roll call of people here, and then we'll know who's not here.
Okay.
And then-
Do we all just go around and say it?
Yeah.
Okay, Beth Pellick.
Harry Brucese.
Brianna Panero.
Gopi Nageshwaran.
Matt Treist.
All right. And then, there was some Brianna, oh no, sorry, geez, Natalia, Donnell, Tom, and Mike, so. All right.
All right.
All right.
Want to get started with the first item?
Yep.
An update on the Bellforge Art Center meeting.
Yeah, so kind of going back to some of the conversations we've had, feels like a year now, about trying to find a replacement organization to look at taking over the Main Street Live event. That's been an event that EDC has run for a number of years.
Hello.
And so just capacity issues, I think that's kind of part of the reason why I'm trying to find another group that want to take on that event. Obviously, it's pretty well received. And so earlier this summer, I think, Matt, you actually connected us with Gene over at the Bellforge Arts Center in Medfield, a group that runs a lot of fundraising activities. And so had that conversation with them, reached out to them, connected myself and Donnell, had a walk of the site with them to kind of take a look at that. And so I want to have them in and kind of speak to everybody here about just their background and what, the fundraising experience they have and kind of what their thoughts are on Main Street Live and interest in possibly continuing the event. I don't know if I want to turn it over to you, Gene and Paul, if you want to kind of introduce yourselves and talk about Bellforge.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Jean Minnie, I'm the executive director at Bellforge.
I'm Paul Armstrong, the artistic director at Bellforge.
And Bellforge has been running weekly outdoor events at the former Medfield State Hospital campus for 4 years now.
Yep.
Pretty much April through October, so about anywhere from 25 to 30 events a year. A lot of live music events. Some are kid-focused. We've had audiences from 300 to over 1,000. We did an event in Boston last year that had over 5,000 people in attendance, so a lot of experience with live music events, and we're very interested in helping out with this. Do you have questions, or do you want us to talk more about something specific?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess if anyone has anything else, but I would just probably say, so, obviously Main Street Live, there is, kind of a history of program of how it's typically run. I know we've talked about that, offhand, myself, you and Donnell. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on just, having a group like this possibly take something like that on. Obviously, they're not like a local affiliation. They're from Medfield. But
I wrote down questions, that's why I'm looking at my phone here, but
I mean, Bellforge, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We do have bars at Bellforge events, so all of our bartenders are tip certified and trained that way, and we've been doing this for a while.
So, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I'm Beth, and I was also part of the Main Street Live Committee. Are you guys looking to take it over altogether without our participation? Is that what's happening, or?
Happy to talk it through.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I think, at least in a early first year, we would need help with sponsors and the select board approval. It sounded like there needed to be an approval
permitting
process.
locally.
And
Yep.
Okay.
yeah, because we don't know the Walpole lay of the land.
Did you
yet.
ever come to Main Street Live? Did you ever? No? Okay. All right. It's fun. It's a fun event. Is that where we're going? Like, I'm sorry, again, I missed a couple of the meetings, so I'm not sure where we're headed with this.
Well, as you know, the event has stopped because we haven't really been that
Correct.
years. And
Yeah.
we have been looking in the past for someone to take it over and run it. Bellforge here has the same type of thing, but they do it as fundraising for themselves. And they do it fundraising for their art. Correctly, your
Yeah.
facility over in Medfield, and that's basically what they fundraise for, is to operate the facility in
Okay.
Medfield.
So we are not, we haven't done the construction on the facilities yet. We're about to start. So all of our events, for the most part, other than maybe one or two a year, are free. So they're not actually set up for fundraising.
Are you operating over there at all?
Outside only, in the
Outside
warm
only?
weather months, April
Okay.
through October.
At the old state school?
Correct.
Right.
State Hospital, yep.
So they've done this fundraising kind of similar to Main Street Live. They've done it in Boston as well as over in Medfield. They do it over in Medfield. They've expressed an interest of taking it over and running it. As far as I know, I don't know how involved EDC will get. I don't know what type of, they run through what they intend to do with the town of Walpole in terms of give back to the town.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if all the proceeds you're planning on just taking them out, or there's gonna be, nothing in it for the town of Walpole. And I think if that's gonna be the case, I don't know if EDC, obviously up to EDC, how much EDC will participate. I myself will be happy to run you through the first year and get you guys up and going. And I think the EDC would help you getting permitting for the first year.
Yeah.
and then-
Absolutely, yeah.
And then get you up on your way. We'll help you get through it. But in terms of participation from EDC, I mean, I think EDC, and who's ever gonna take it over, we'd like to see the town benefit somehow. And I know it's a skinny proposition, from what we've made in the past there, but if it grows or whatever, I think something should be done with the town. I think for the first couple of years, you're gonna have a lot of people confused, thinking it is gonna be run for the town,
Yeah.
it is gonna be run by the town, and thinking that the town's gonna benefit. I'm sure there's gonna be some confusion on that when you announce Main Street Live's back up and running again, and, they'll just think it's the same thing, many people, unless we go on a big spritz and say it's not us, which we don't wanna do,
Yeah.
because we wanna help them, and we want to do something for the town of Walpole, and let Walpole, let that event come back, and let everybody benefit. I think that's the way to phrase it, let everybody benefit. So, I don't know what your thoughts on it. We really haven't sat here in EDC and talked amongst ourselves about it, because this is kind of the first meeting that
Okay.
someone's come before us and said, yes, we're interested in doing something. So we're probably gonna take the information from here, we'll probably all sit down and talk about it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
stepping
agree
over
with you.
stepping.
Yeah, I don't think
And
we've
then
had a chance to kind of
we'll-
like dissect it as a
you know,
group, but
Yeah.
We'll probably have another follow-up meeting so we can see where we're all at.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can, make a decision whether you guys still wanna jump in, and we'll make a decision on what we wanna do as a board here and everything, we kinda go from there.
Yeah, and I think I just had a couple like clarifying questions. Do you envision if you took over Main Street Live that it would remain a free event and then you just charge for beer, wine, or whatever, however you handle that? And then is the event sponsored by local sponsors when you are hosting, it? Like that's?
Ideally, that
yeah.
would be beneficial to help pay for the performers and,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's where we'd look to work with you guys on that baton passing. I think we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, we're trying to continue a great event. So I think in the first couple of years, it would make sense to, learn from what your successes, and then move it forward. So sponsorships would be part of that as well.
yeah, and I think again, as Donnell alluded to, the local sponsorship was probably driven by the give back to the community, and so it's a really local driven event. So I think we would definitely want to talk to you guys about how like we merge with your organization, whether that's like something, something with the event itself, or like downtown, something downtown that you guys have a presence here or something to that effect. So we feel like it's,
What's the give back been in the past?
I wouldn't say it's a give back. I mean, just general community benefit in terms of like, you know, folks that are in the community want to sponsor things that are benefiting the people that live here. So I wouldn't say there's anything specific on that front, but.
You know, we've been trying to get the kitty to grow so that we can do an impactful thing for downtown. So we haven't done anything, we've done a little bit of stuff with it in the past, and we've done some association with the business forum and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we're still trying to figure out what to do with it in order to, you know, to make an impact with downtown. Because as you know, when we were growing it and starting it going, we had to keep a kitty for a rain day.
Yep.
As you know, because there's so much that goes into it that you
yeah.
can't take back after.
We know
If
well.
you have a rain day and you lose all that income and sales, you know, that it could devastate the event, you know, and not be able to financially get back up off the ground again. So, you know, that's always been, but it's always been, you know, it's always been local, it's always been a towny thing. Now I assume when you guys take it over, it will be more of an area, regional thing. I'm sure you're probably gonna include Medfield into it, and I'm sure you're gonna go as far out as you can get to get sponsors to help out and get donations. You know, so that whole thing will be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. you know?
Yeah, I think Bellforge is obviously based in Medfield, but the surrounding towns all come to our events already. We've seen, I think it was 520 zip codes come to our events, and it's very much a Metro West belt of towns. So the feeling of the working with local towns will remain. I think in terms of the artists that we book, we would try and support local artists as we do already. I think 97% of our artists have been from Massachusetts or Rhode Island. So we're not relying on big national acts, we're relying on great quality local talent. So I think it wouldn't feel too out of place. It wouldn't feel too different than what you guys have done in the past.
We really kind of kept it local. We really didn't go outside of Walpole looking for anything. It was growing on its own big enough in town that I guess we were kind of afraid to go outside of town.
I was
because it
gonna
would
say,
get
what
too
was-
Music
close.
acts.
What were
that
the
always-
numbers? Like, do we have an idea of how many people were?
Oh, I'm gonna say the last time we held it, there was between
5 and 6.
around 5,000 people
Yeah,
throughout the night
easily,
came through it.
easily.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that came through.
Yeah.
And you had different groups. You had the mom and kids come in with the strollers, 5 to 7. Then at 7 o'clock to like 8 or 9 o'clock, you had the sports kids come in, like the
After
football
practice,
team
yeah.
over here, the teenage type crowd, And then after 9 o'clock, it kind of went to mostly adults and adults there from 9 to 11. So it was kind of that type of swing that we went through.
And have you guys walked just downtown to see where this area? Yeah, so you
Yeah,
understand. It's
we
like,
walked through that, Pat and I walked through with them and with the plans and set up and went through how we'd set up the tents and what we do with the roadways that we shut down and how we do traffic flow and everything. We kind of went through all that during our walkthrough.
Now, do you do food at your events also? Do you bring in food trucks or,
We do.
okay,
Your food list looked very good as well, though.
yeah,
So,
yeah, they always sell out too, yeah,
yeah, we work with
Okay.
food trucks and we
Okay.
help them through with the paperwork and whatnot. So,
Okay.
yeah.
all right. Cool.
I think it's a great first, initiation, and meeting you guys has been great, and hearing more about what you guys are organizing in Medfield. So I'm excited. I think, we should probably just talk about it as a group and
Yeah.
see what
You
the
have
I think
another
we should
event
put it
up
on
at
our
Medfield
next
State this
meeting
weekend?
agenda.
Or would you
as
have
a
them on the
discussion
weekends,
item,
or?
Talk it
We
out.
do generally weekends, spring and fall are Saturdays.
Okay.
In the summer, we move to Wednesday evenings,
Oh.
just to mix it up so more people can come to our events. But we're actually wrapping up our season this Saturday.
Okay, I was just wondering if you were having something this weekend.
We've done 120 festivals over the last 4 years, where we start with an empty field and we end up with the stage, food,
Okay.
bar, check-in,
Yes.
everything, booths, so we feel very comfortable.
So is there nothing this weekend you're done, or is there something this weekend?
There is an Illuminate Lantern Parade Festival this weekend,
And what day, Saturday?
Yes.
And what time is that at?
3 to 6 p.m.
3 to 6, okay. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, just offhand, obviously, I'm not a member of the board, just a kind of director, but since I've got here, I obviously the way you guys have run Main Street Live is just incredibly impressive. I think the amount of work that's gone into it, the buildup and the interest from the community is just such a well-received thing. And then just thinking of like, all right, having a new group come in, I think you said it, best on now. It's like, all right, well, it'd be great to have some connection too with the community. I mean, that's, I think public art is something I always hear in terms of my, just interactions of people, just interest. I think people love the idea of having a lot more of a vibrant downtown and more of an engaging downtown. And I think it's kind of an interesting connection. I don't know where that could be, even if it's just, some sort of advertising for the Bellforge Arts Center or try to make people aware of that option or that resource. But it sounds like it's a unique thing in the area that I think a lot of people would be certainly interested in having that connection to town somehow is a great way to find.
Do you envision changing the name of the event, or would you just rename it, rebrand it, Bellforge Arts Presents?
Yeah, I think we'd look at rebranding it rather than, but Main Street's Live is a great name, so we haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
But, I think having Bellforge and the name attached sort of makes sense off the top of my head, but, yeah.
We can talk about it.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm thinking about, right, the community knows the Main Street Live event and I don't necessarily know that folks know who was putting it on, other than it was associated with the town.
Yep.
So just curious. Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, but I was gonna say even like bring in your own spin to it as well. I mean, we've had art festivals in the town. I know it's not an art festival, but we've had different events like that. I always think they're always really well received. There's always seems to be an interest in public art and just having more of that, that presence in town. So it's pretty interesting.
Cool.
People will be happy.
I think so.
They will.
They will.
Yes, they will.
Great. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
thank you.
Matt,
And
for
we'll
the
probably get
reach
back
out.
on the agenda in another couple months or something like that. We'll probably at our next meeting discuss it and probably get in touch maybe the end of the year.
Typically, when we do start this, it's what, in March? We start in March?
Yeah, we kind of start in March, but the earlier the better with the food
Earlier
Right,
trucks if you're looking
yeah,
to
so
hold it, so.
just on that,
Would
I
we
don't know,
wanna
you
have
might,
it-
Danelle might have already mentioned that to you guys
Yeah,
already.
we're ready.
Okay, fabulous.
We're going to try to get you an answer sooner
Yeah.
than later.
You say we want to have the EDC have that kind of discussion in either after this or for next meeting or,
Whatever you think.
your
Yeah.
call.
So our
Let them-
board meets next on, I think it's November 19th, and we wanted to bring it up with them to have their buy-in also.
Okay.
So if you have feedback before then, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we should. I think it's, we meet the 18th.
We do?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we can figure it, yeah, we can.
All right, great.
Thank you so much,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye now. Our next meeting's 18th.
Do we want to talk about it briefly? I mean,
No, it's your call. I mean,
I mean, we can. I mean, there's, I don't know if they're looking anything financially from us. So I don't know. I mean, that's something we have to discuss with what we're going to do with the funds that we have right now. I mean, it's up to the Economic Development Board to spend it the way they seem fit. We always had the intention of buying something or doing something for downtown somehow, and we just never got to that point before we had to stop doing it. So that's something that's out there that I think needs to be addressed and discussed, which I don't know if we can just discuss it here tonight. We probably have to think about it, I would say. And then the other thing is really what they plan on giving back, and I was kind of tying what they were going to give back to what we're going to give.
Yeah.
Is what I had in the back of my mind, and you guys can, decide yourselves too, because I don't mind doing something to help fund it and start it up if the town's going to get something back through it. So it's something we need You know, we need to kind of figure out on our own, maybe make a subcommittee or something like that, just to address it real quick and get it done, because I know they probably want an answer probably by December, so they can get food
They-
trucks lined up.
Well, they're
and
meeting with their
everything.
board on November 19th,
Yeah,
so.
so maybe if we form a subcommittee to meet next week, or another 2 weeks or so, that maybe by the 19th, we can do something with the subcommittee and have a direction going with it, and then get back to them by the 19th, so that they'll have an answer. And
So, I mean, I think we meet as a full board, I want to say the 18th, but if we want to set up a subcommittee in the interim, just to have more of a kind of offline discussion.
I think we should.
Yeah.
What is the current balance approximately?
28, I put it in the email back to, what was it,
It's a little under-
28,894, something like
Yeah.
that?
28, 27, 54.
Yeah.
And it probably will work out where maybe you make a donation to get them started. You know, because they'll need that. And then the majority, well, not a majority of the funds probably come from the sales that night, correct?
Yes.
And then below that would be
Well, no,
sponsorship.
you know, yes. They're
Pretty close.
pretty close and even. I'm going to say they were about 13 each or somewhere in that
But
area.
that's going to change if they're bringing in private, like, not like music we were bringing in.
Oh, I agree, the expenses
Yeah,
will change.
yeah.
I don't know about
Lower.
the income side of it.
Lower.
Probably, but on the income side of it, I also don't know how many of the businesses are going
Well, that's my point.
to
With the
contribute
With the sponsorship.
if it goes
That
out
was,
of town.
right, that
kind
was,
of if it runs, if you, or have that run through us, because we have the connections to bring the sponsors, I think, better than they would? Yes, no?
I don't think in a checkbook sense. No, I think we would help them get the sponsors
Right.
and kind of introduce them to the current sponsors the
Right.
sponsors that we had last, and then it just kind of goes from there.
let them take it.
You know, and they got to kind of take the ball and run with it. I mean, if you use the Walpole Coop for an example, I'm sure the Walpole Coop will contribute something, but I don't know how much the Walpole Coop would want to contribute towards going to Bellforge and Medfield, you know,
Right.
being the
But
Walpole Coop.
I mean, I think that where it's held in Walpole, they've got to give something back to Walpole. They have to. I mean,
I agree, and that's the other part that we have to talk about. What,
Yeah,
Yeah, some type of
where,
split.
how, when, I don't know.
yeah.
Some type of split.
I don't have an
especially if
answer
we're
for
still
that.
affiliated with them. I mean, we might be affiliated for 2 years.
Just in the beginning, yeah. But I don't know how to do that. But if they're really coming to town, and even though we're not affiliated, they really should be doing something for the town anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I
The
agree.
whole way through.
Yeah.
You know?
And
So-
but is that something like less tangible and it's really like putting on the event, is them doing something for the community?
Well, even if it's something like for them, I mean, they're into the arts. Even if they open up a display window
Oh, yeah, I
down
think
here
so.
and have art, you know, throughout town or something like
Can't
that.
formulate it, but that's kind of where my head's thinking. So obviously, the
Yeah.
event is kind of what you provide, but then like, hey, it's beneficial for them from an advertisement purpose, but then from a downtown visual vibrancy, is there some sort of, you know,
Hey, maybe they
For
can do
public
the
art
next mural.
thing.
I was
Yeah.
literally just thinking, maybe they want to talk to Sarah.
Maybe they can do the next mural.
yeah,
I don't know. you
Something
know,
like that,
Something
yeah.
like that, you know? I don't know. It's,
paint the sidewalks or the
or they
crosswalks or
can
something.
contribute to the mural
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
The
I
arts
like that
and
idea,
music
Patrick.
programs
Or
at
the artists and
schools,
stuff.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere.
Have
It's-
that.
Yeah, I do.
So we have to sit and talk about that on what we kind of want back from them. I mean, I'm not,
Maybe they could do a scholarship for like an artist or something at the high school or
Mm-hmm.
something,
Yeah.
you know, something like for something to that effect.
Offer
An artist or a
Classes for
musician.
Walpole residents or something like that.
What'd you say?
Offer classes for Walpole residents or some sort of,
discount or something?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably many avenues. I haven't stopped to think about it, but
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of different avenues.
I think the headline really is that it's great that somebody wants to take it over. That's my personal opinion, is that like, it was a really great community event, and if
Mm-hmm.
you guys are saying 5,000 people came, like, clearly, people would be just thrilled to have it
People
back.
talk about it still to this,
I know.
I just was
I
asked
loved
the other
it.
day.
Yeah.
When's it coming back?
When's it coming back? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh.
So I think that in itself is like would be a real win for the town to have that revived. But
that's
yeah,
the
I
big
think-
thing. It's the community event where everyone,
Could we establish like I think like a scholarship for somebody that's studying maybe music or art, or going on to study music and art, or art could be a really interesting, could be interesting, anyways.
Or even you could think of some public projects like the mural, or even developing certain areas within Walpole. And then even like upfront declare it, because we are also kind of running like an event plus a fundraising. Again, if people are interested, they can be generous about contributing to that. So it'll be executed by Bellforge, but it's the benefit that Walpole is going to get, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Are you sure?
So either a subcommittee, or if
To
we
know.
think we
I
can,
have-
do you have anything to add? Sorry, you introduced them, so I'm sure you're like,
That's
on
all
you.
right. No, I think somehow give back to Walpole, like you're saying, either something that's downtown. I think, I mean, if that's what
Yeah, is
the
that,
Main Street
Saturday?
Live was, initiative was for downtown, for
Of
money.
what, November, of
Maybe
October
it should
to
continue that
November?
way.
What
Also, I
days,
think something with
Veterans
the public
Day's at
arts might be
11.
also fun.
That's a holiday. Want
So,
to do the 12th?
yeah.
That's fine with me, that would give us enough time. Would, Beth and I were just talking about maybe meeting on the 12th, if we can do something like that.
yeah.
As full committee or as?
No, it's a
share?
subcommittee, and
Okay.
kind
Yeah.
of do some brainstorming, and in the meantime, I don't know, maybe put out an email to the rest of the board telling them what our intentions are, and if they wanted to give an email back of some input to it. Or if they wanted to attend the meeting, they could too.
Well,
Either which
it
way.
depends, because then we're having a quorum issue. So when
Yeah.
usually we do a subcommittee, you want to have, so it's not a quorum of the
Yeah.
full board, but subset. So I mean, it's a 7-member committee. Do you want to have 3 members?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right.
So where do you want to meet?
I'll meet here
Okay.
somewhere,
Yeah, I can.
5
I can-
o'clock on the 12th?
or if you want to do during the day. Are
Oh,
you
during the
available
day?
During the day?
Yeah, I could probably make that work.
Well, during the day, I have to be like between 11 and like 1.
That actually works great for me.
That's fine.
Okay, all right,
Like 11 o'clock on the 12th?
sure.
Does that work with you?
Yeah.
Want
Get
to
my
do
hair
11
done that
o'clock on the
morning,
12th?
Yeah, so how, this is kind of, yep, so I mean, like I said, if it's a subcommittee and you have that discussion, especially when it's regarding financials, it's like, I would go with a 3-member committee and I could double check, but if you want to have everybody, then it's a posted meeting. They're both posted meetings, they're both technically public meetings, but,
I don't care how
I
you
don't
want to
care,
do
how
it.
yeah.
I think if we meet, and then we can, and then we have our meeting on the 18th, or we can
Yeah.
bring our whatever back to you, and then, because they're going to meet on the 19th, and then we can make whether or not it's going to move forward.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if
guess.
people email through me or email through Brianna, just questions, every other member that's on the committee.
Works
Well,
for
I
me.
even think then, I mean, with the subcommittee, and by then, it's not going to be etched in stone, but
Yeah.
we'll have a direction to throw at them to see if they want to go to the next step, I guess would be the way.
Yeah.
Would that how you envision it?
Yeah, I think, like you said, they didn't really ask us for anything in particular. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like the-
just getting that out on the table, right, if we're gonna make the first offer and say like, yeah, we'd like you to take it over, we should just have a plan.
And I'm not really sure how much startup money they might really need. I mean, they're up and running, they're doing events all the time, and,
Yeah.
so, all right, 12th, 11
Okay,
o'clock.
11, 12, okay. I'm going to try to go Saturday to that illumination.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna look at
Just
their
put it down, yeah,
calendar.
it sounds like, she said 3 to 6, or he said 3 to 6, right? That's what I wrote down, okay.
Cool, on to the next.
Yeah.
Commercial and industrial property study?
Yep. So, last time we met, I think we had mentioned we had 2 ongoing surveys. One was for commercial commercial business owners and property owners and developers. The other one was for residents. About 59 people that responded from the business and property owner side, but we had almost, not the number off the top of my head, it was like around 580. We had a great response from residents on the resident survey, so which was really great. Just good data for MAPC to kind of work with, and a lot of just wonderful ideas. Through that process, though, so it's because we we're a little behind, and we're trying to make sure we keep on track for the fiscal year. The surveys, now that they're completed, we've had ongoing stakeholder meetings. This has been mostly geared around just business owners within kind of the dominant sections of town, being the downtown, highway business, and East Walpole. We'll also try to be scheduling stakeholder meetings with developers, I would say advocacy groups, but also just development firms that have done work in town, just to have just a general discussion. So those have usually kind of happened as people have scheduled time. I think MAPC's emailed a dozen or so people, and they've probably had maybe 8 or so meetings already. So those are going to kind of be ongoing as people respond. The next step that really, from just a information gathering standpoint, that they want to do is a, what am I thinking? A focus group discussion. So hopefully prior to the end of the December at some point. Our consultant unfortunately is going on medical leave for the majority of November, so it's going to kind of give a little bit of a delay there. So we're probably going to think about more likely December scheduling these focus group meetings. But that is going to just be more kind of a detailed discussion with both, focus is probably just have 3 different meetings. One is kind of a general resident stakeholder group, and then have one that's more geared towards businesses as well as probably property owners. But with that outreach, there's also just been a lot of work that that our consultant's done just looking at both our existing zoning and existing characteristics. And I know Kurdeep back in May did this similar work, and so Raul's taken kind of taken what she has already done and kind of taken a deeper dive as well, and looking at what I guess he calls is kind of a mismatch analysis of our use of land. And so where this is all going is coming away with just basically, hey, here's actionable items that are necessary, and then those that are probably needed to kind of get this type of growth you want to see. And a lot of that's going in not just, hey, we want to increase the highest and best use of land, but we also want to factor in community wants and community characteristics, and that's part of where that outreach has is factored in. Just hearing about people, their concerns. They're obviously, everyone would like to see a certain type of business in town. That's not always possible, but it's good to understand of where people's. So I'm distracted. What's going on outside?
Very distracting.
Yeah. So it's good, that background research of just understanding people's kind of concerns, what people would like to see, that helps to kind of weigh in to some of the action items when it comes to, community wants, community characteristics, but also, what's something that is not going to be at a place in Walpole. And so, a lot of that is, kind of that boring zoning stuff, but it is a lot of it is also just policy items and different permitting suggestions of just trying to kind of make the process a little bit easier. Like I said, at some point I'd like to finalize the stakeholder group. And in terms of contacts, we have a few of them. My initial thing is just when we did the survey, we asked people if they were interested in being part of a stakeholder group. So we have a pretty good list of just residents that could compile that group, but also just if we're having 2 other groups meet, business wise. We've done a lot of work in the downtown in various studies, and my first thought is I got a lot of information about the downtown, and I know it's a big focal point for people, but I'd like to also focus on the highway business and just our industrial sections in town, both, Walpole Industrial Park and Norfolk Street, those areas that, are good, tax generators, but also just have room to expand. So that was my, thought in terms of focus groups, focusing on, predominantly those 2 areas. But I don't know if anyone looked at some of the information. That it was kind of a lot of just his initial response, and we don't have the full breakdown of all the survey responses. We have a copy of the survey responses. I think that's still ongoing, trying to get that summary report of everything that we got from residents. And so, once we have that, I can send that out to everyone as well and go from there. But I don't know if anyone read anything, has any questions, thoughts, or?
No, I agree with what you were saying. That was my only real thought, is that, the focus is always on downtown, which is great, because we do have a great downtown, but there are I think the other areas for zoning are more pressing.
Yeah.
I don't really have much. You said, I think last time you mentioned there was gonna be like actionable items come this spring, right? Is that kind of,
Yeah, so
Target.
to go along with, so this project will end at the end of June regardless. To go along with that, the zoning bylaw review steering committee, which is working on the rewrite, is also thinking of looking at our use section, our use regulations for the spring. That's probably gonna be, I would say, the more controversial section, because that's a lot of what,
what can go where?
yeah, and it's a lot easier to interpret than, looking at, non-conforming uses, which no one really wants to talk about. But, so that's something that this work will hopefully influence to some extent. Some of it may not, like, I've talked to just offhand, like, all right, more comprehensive changes, like looking at doing like an overlay district, which is like almost like a district of additional uses for like East Walpole. That wouldn't be something that I'd bring forward for the spring, because that'd probably be something to talk about in more of a, have more public forums on, have more of a workshop on. But what's going forward for the spring is really, it's the cleanup that needs to take place within our use regulations, but then also a deep dive at the use regulations table itself. What uses obviously are, it's, how was the language written? A lot of that's been, is decades old, and could that be more brought up to modern, modern terms? And then obviously some of the uses which may be allowed in certain sections or by special permits in other sections may not really make sense. They could be kind of, there might be a reasoning to it. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, well, like auto dealerships. We allow auto dealerships in town, but only by special permit, but not, in the highway business district, that's one of the only sections that has it. So why does that also have another regulatory step of a special permit?
Right, you have to get a
So
special permit.
that's just an example of like, all right, could that be more of a discussion of like, is that being prohibitive for that particular use? Not that we want more auto dealerships, but just in general, it just, when you look at the zoning, is it conducive to,
Doing
good
business.
measured growth?
Yeah. The one thing I picked up on too, obviously South Walpole has like a lot of industrial use, and it's also like the Neponset River area. So like, if you're rezoning that, obviously you're not gonna put industrial uses near the river, and you
Yeah.
can't. But if you change that zoning, is there a zoning type that would allow you to put something near that river? Because like, you don't necessarily want to promote, like, it's good that it's industrial because nobody can really build there, and it's
Yeah.
really not. Yeah, just
It's
curious.
it's a weird, that's always something that catches my eye. Like, so obviously, that, it's a huge segment of industrial, but it's mostly like what's Cedar Swamp. And
Right.
it would never be, it can't be built on anyway. So rezoning that, it may not even really,
It
obviously.
might not materialize into anything, but does it allow somebody to like build there that like you wouldn't, if you.
Potentially, right? I mean, that's always the potential is, I mean, if something's not publicly owned and it's, under private ownership, and, if there's, if regulations change over time, or if, the developable nature of a property is not, we look at it and we assume it's wet, but we don't know it to the full extent. So if someone has a will, there's a way, we want to make sure those environmental resources are protected.
Yeah, that's all.
And so that's something that could be like, that's a symptom of, well, it was utilized as industrial 100 years ago,
Yeah.
and it made sense, but it's really not practical to leave it like that anymore.
Yeah, I was just more curious if that was being taken into account, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the environmental component of rezoning.
In like a few of the other sections, and Donnell, you've mentioned this before, like rezoning property and land is kind of controversial and can be problematic. But there are maybe possibly a few areas, and this isn't so much totally within the final report, but just off the top of my head, like I'm thinking of like off of Old West Street, there's an area where it's all residential, but it's zoned industrial.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense why that's still in zone industrial, but should be probably turned back to general residence. And then
Right, and
you
then
could-
those residents have issues with trying to do
for
anything on their
permitting
private
purposes.
property.
Yeah, you're
I
kind of stuck with
understand
what you have, and redevelopment is kind of locked in at either what your existing building is or industrial. And I don't think anyone's putting in a new industrial facility right next to the railroad tracks like that. So, that's just one example of like, that could be a change that's practical and measured and probably not as controversial.
Are there EDC, is there EDC presence outside of, is it just you attending the focus groups? Who else is in the
Yeah,
focus groups?
it's just been me and the consultant.
Just the consultant?
right
I didn't
now.
know if there was like
Yeah.
other town boards or anything that was on.
No. So our consultant's great. I mean, he's done a ton of work, but I've had to like catch up because it's like 5 emails a day. Like he's very active. So I'm appreciative of it for sure. But it's so when I get notified on the stakeholder meetings, I kind of had to tell him like, all right, we gotta meet up because I didn't know we were scheduling these things already.
Got it.
But do make sure that I'm there for those meetings.
Great. Anything else on that?
So, if I may, Pat,
yeah.
so after the study gets done and everything,
Yeah.
and go through the land uses and comes up being up that zoning's gotta be addressed and stuff, how do you envision it going on from there? Something that's gonna go, we're gonna work with the planning board, and the planning board might present articles for town meeting, or is it something the EDC is gonna be looking to do?
I would say, I mean, having endorsement and review of the EDC, that's my vision for these things, because I think a lot of them, that they're tied to economic development, and having your views on it is something I would certainly want. But in terms of like a zoning article, yeah, I could go through the planning board. The past couple town meetings, I've gone through the select board, so that's more of a regulatory process, a few different ways you can get something on the warrant. But I think because the EDC is also a committee appointed by the select board, I would probably go through the select board.
To the planning board, because it.
Well, I'd have to go to planning board regardless for a public
Yeah, but
hearing.
planning board's, presenting it at town meeting probably has a better shot of something going through than EDC would.
Well, the EDC, I mean, so
If it
you
was
wouldn't
zoning
necessarily
articles.
sponsor any article. I mean, you could obviously endorse something,
Right.
but legally it'd have to be, you do a citizen petition, you go, planning board can sponsor a zoning article, select board can sponsor a zoning article, sometimes zoning boards can sponsor a zoning article. So, there's only a few select routes that can actually get an article on the warrant. My thought on it, just if you had to ask me today, would be, obviously I would approach the planning board, because I've done that, but the past couple town meetings, because because of some of the work that I've done with the steering committee, the zoning review steering committee was appointed by the select board. They've kind of had the select board be the sponsoring party for those articles, because they appointed the board, the steering committee that worked on it. So because the EDC is appointed by the select board, I probably would bring.
Is there a point where we should start working with the planning board on this, when it gets to that point?
I think I gotta get to that point yet. Right now, it's a lot of information gathering, and a lot of background work, but the action items are what really is, but the end result is, hey, these are items that you can do to really incentivize redevelopment in this location, or you could better, improve this use or encourage this use on like the highway business district or something like that. So those items, once we can get those figured out, that's the end result of this process, is to defend those changes.
Great.
Yeah. So that's all. I mean, I'm trying to, it's a lot in the stuff that he's written, so a lot of it is still kind of in draft form in the work that I've gotten from him. So I'm hoping that, as we kind of, before the end of the calendar year, we can have more of a kind of like not a final report, but get a better final handling on where this is going with his background research.
Yeah,
So.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
I assume like there will also be like an overlay with the town master plan, right? Like it all kind of overlays.
Well, that's like the thing is, this project stems from I call it the draft master plan, but the 2023 update that Donnell was on too. This is an action item that was from the economic development goal section. And so
Okay.
it ties
That's good.
back into that for sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Cool. Next item is the department updates and any ongoing development.
Yeah, so off the top of my head, we have, we did receive an application for, a project that was filed under the MBTA overlay district in the downtown. It's, they call it the Gia Domenico property, so there's a property on the block of East Street, School Street, Main Street, and Maple. It's about a 4.2 acre assemblage of parcels. The applicant, or I guess the applicant for the project is Toll Brothers. They're looking at doing a townhouse-style development, ownership units, and so that's kind of the thing that's on the top of my mind in terms of what's going to be coming in the next 2 weeks before the planning board for site plan review. Obviously, it's the first project that's applied under that overlay, and so seeing how it all plays out, and luckily there's an affordable component. There's a little bit, the density is regulated a little bit, in my opinion, better than kind of how the underlying zoning is. So there's a little bit more regulation there. It is 67 townhouses at the current plan.
A lot of property down here.
So is there a commercial use to it as well?
It's not. It's just it's multi.
Residential.
Involve some of the CBD property now?
What was it?
Does it involve some of the
Yeah.
CBD property now?
So the overlay district we have is technically two sub-districts. There's a higher density and which is called the central core, and then a lower density, which is the outer core. And so that zoning overlay sub-district kind of follows the boundaries of the CBD and the general residence. So the portion of that block that's in the CBD is in the higher density, and then the portion of the block that's in the general residence is in the lower density. So the majority of the site is actually in the lower density, I guess, sub-district.
But in the CBD district, are there gonna be commercial requirement?
There isn't, no, not under MBTA. So I know the
Not
portion,
under MBTA, you said?
yeah, it's under the MBTA overlay.
How is that section under the MBTA?
What was your question?
How is that section under the
So
MBTA?
when we zoned in 2024,
Mile.
was that?
Sorry, it's like a mile radius, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's technically it's a half-mile radius around a transit station. We had to define a
Okay,
boundary,
that's fine.
so it's not an actual half-mile. There was requirements that went into this where we had to kind of meet certain regulations with the state. So there's a state law.
Commuter rail, not MBTA though, right?
Yeah, they gave the title. It's just, it's the state kind of trying to find a way to define something. But, so we were legally required to create this overlay district because of, where we have a train station and how the law was written. And so the way we wrote it
Housing.
approximately follows our central business district, but extends in some portions only because it meets
Interior design.
the requirements of the state law.
Haven?
But with that,
Those gallows
it doesn't necessarily need to meet
Secret
mixed
Haven
use.
moves.
It can if the developer wishes to, but we can't prohibit multifamily.
Townhomes, 67, that's a lot.
They'll be for sale or they'll be rental townhomes?
That'll be ownership for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the big one.
That's
It's
the
going in
big
front of
one.
the planning board in a couple weeks.
Yep, it would be November 6th. So, see how that plays out.
That's gonna jump into growth for the downtown area.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of where the downtown could grow to, as well as the backside of East Street, and that's all gonna turn residential use now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so that's the big one that's, I mean, they haven't applied yet. Also within the downtown, the Gilmore site has been kind of in a standstill. That was permitted, geez,
That was
2024.
finalized though, wasn't it?
That was
all done.
finalized, yeah. I think it's been a matter of they've been getting their construction-ready documents, or their construction-ready architectural and finalized site plan. So they've been finalizing that, and it's kind of delayed the actual site work and building permit stage. So last we spoke to them, probably spring of '26.
Those are rentals, right?
Those are rentals.
And how many units over there?
142,
142. It's going to be a lot of property down here.
yeah.
Who's developing that one? Gilmore's?
It's Silver Strand LLC.
Probably, yeah.
They're predominantly 40B developers, so it was done as a friendly 40B. So there's 25% affordable at 80% AMI, but because they're all rental, all those numbers count towards our SHI, our subsidized housing inventory.
Will that help, are we almost at our threshold?
We are at that with that development, so we're over
Oh,
10%
with
with
that development, though?
Yep.
And then you said there's an affordable component to
There's
the
a-
for sale units
Yep,
that they're
so-
proposing?
Yeah, so that has an affordable component. We were allowed to provide, or I guess, the maximum we were allowed to have for affordable in the MBTA was 10%, but we could increase that if we wanted to do an economic feasibility study. When we went through the zoning process, and just from a timing standpoint and then just a logistics standpoint, we went with just the 10%, rather than increasing it through an economic feasibility study. We could always go back and increase it, but that was, at the time, we'd have to get another third-party consultant. We'd have to do another study to tell us whether or not we can increase from 10 to 20.
So I'm sorry, so that one's the general medical property with Toll Brothers, that's also affordable, is what you just said, right?
It's only a small portion, so it's
10% of the
10%.
67, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's another one.
Great.
Is at Corner West Street and Spring Street. This
Oh,
was a controversial project that I believe was finalized last spring. That's right on the corner of Spring and West.
With the electrical places?
Yeah, that's 95 units, and that's a mixed-use project.
Why controversial? Just because there's just more multifamily?
I think the location, I mean, just, I guess speaking for me, it follows, it's within our central business district, but I mean, it is right outside the railroad, where it is. And then obviously, it got a lot of feedback, during the public hearing process, for sure, from where it's located. So yeah, that's just,
Any retail component on that one?
there is,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Are those
that one,
condos or rentals of them? A sale, I think.
I think they're rental
Yeah, I
on
think
that
those are
one.
gonna be rentals, if I
Yeah.
remember.
Okay.
Did they need the mixed use to get it approved?
They needed the mixed use, so that project was filed
voting on this?
under our underlying zoning. So our underlying zoning is it's basically our central business district zoning right now that allows for mixed use. The formula for which it allows the residential component is based upon the square footage of commercial space you provide. So, that's something we want to change. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where I wish we changed it 20 years ago. But at the same time, I understand why it was put together. But it's, that's something that's how that project was permitted. Also in the downtown, I know it's 979 Main Street, which was the old Bank of America building. That's been under construction for a long time now. I took a tour of it with the building commissioner just to see what was going on, and I know they're working on it again, so they should be, getting going. They've had some just kind of, some issues here and there with getting that one done, obviously with the time it's taken. But that one is also, it's a commercial component on the first floor, and that's only 8 units.
They're for sale units, right?
They're for sale, yep.
The commercial's for sale too?
I think
Commercial,
so.
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yep.
Is anybody interested in it?
I've heard, yeah, there's one person we're aware of. We'll see.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
If it's true or not.
I'll talk to you later. In addition to that, there is up the road, on 1A, I think it's 363 Main. It's where the old Leo's Pizza was.
Yep.
There's another mixed-use building going in there. That's 16 units. Those are condos. Those are for sale. They are getting close to being fully completed. It's actually, it's pretty nice inside.
Those are listed for sale too, I think.
Yeah, those are
already.
for sale. The commercial component, I believe they're actually in talks to have Rico's Pizza move into one of the locations. I
A
mean,
liquor store too.
liquor store, yeah, so they're actually moving those, so they will
Big
fill those
building will be
commercial
vacant.
spaces. At least that, what we've been told.
They put in like an identical building right next to it too, eventually?
I don't know, I think they bought the site, so I'd imagine they're planning.
There's two lots there, right? Or is it one site, and they've only built up half of it?
So the site that they're on right now is one lot, and I think that they bought the lot to the right of it. And that's a lot that, I guess, where there was an old car wash,
Yep.
and it kind of extends over to Norfolk Street. It's kind of an odd-shaped lot. But, so that project is ongoing. The Summer Street project, I think the same report, last time I talked to you, they wanted to get opening in phases. Seems to be delays that are out of their control with getting their transformers from Eversource. So that's, they're continuing to make progress there.
Just a question on that one, I mean.
Yeah.
I highly assume they've done like water studies and usages or something like that.
Yeah, in terms of like,
The general neighborhood, as far as how that will affect other residential properties and.
Yeah, I mean,
whether
they
it
do
be
it- they
Water
do-
pressure and water, whatever.
oh, you talking about utilities wise?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was, yeah, they have to make sure everything works out, yeah.
just to step back on this study here,
Yes,
when it says residential enclaves trapped, long-standing homes near South Walpole Village, when you say South Walpole Village, you're talking about the park in the middle of the street there, when we call it South Walpole Village?
I think that's what he's referring to it as, yeah.
So Summer Street, Baker Street technically isn't South Walpole,
No,
so he's got Baker Street there, and
no, that's good to know. That's, like I said, this is,
so when you say these non-conforming residences face hurdles for any improvements beyond ordinary repairs. So like, what improvements are a hurdle? What are they
so
to?
I believe he's alluding to if it's miszoned, so if it's a residential in a commercial zone, it's problematic for, I guess, expanding on that residential.
Put an
use.
addition on the property, you mean, or something?
Yeah,
Non-conforming
if it's a non-conforming use.
So what about, the new state law that says you can build anything on your property now, like a single little one level?
Oh, an ADU?
Yeah.
Yeah, that supersedes it. You could,
Oh,
yeah. Well, actually,
Is it
I
actually-
take
is
that
it-
back, because I think, so ADUs, the allowance for an ADU is within a single-family district. So a district that allows single-family dwelling, or single-family dwellings. So essentially, you cannot prohibit the construction of an accessory dwelling unit on a site that are a district that permits single-family dwellings. If a site is residential and it is in a commercial district, I'm not sure if that qualifies the same way.
It's a non-conforming lot
It's
to
a
begin with.
non-conforming lot to
officially,
begin with.
Essentially.
I know I've had that conversation with town council off the top of my head. I might be wrong, so I'll have to figure that out just one more time, because that's something we've all discussed, because the use is single-family, but because it's non-conforming, does it have the same exemptions?
and would that go to the same with like somebody that wants to put a two-car garage on their property?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, the final say on it, I have to talk to next door with the building commissioner, but that's usually the way it's interpreted if it's a non-conforming use. Well, if you actually, I'm sorry, so if you expand a non-conforming use in this town, typically, we do have a provision that you're allowed to expand it up to 50%. So that's in section 9, right? We just did this, yeah. So that, I take that back a little bit. So in this town, if you have a pre-existing non-conforming use and you wish to expand that non-conformity, you may expand that non-conformity up to 50%.
But is that the footprint or the
Yes.
actual
'cause your
living
whole-
space? If it was a residential use?
Yeah, if it was a residential use and you're expanding living, if you're adding an addition, the addition cannot be more than 50% of what that non-conforming use is. So the non-conforming use is essentially that building. So if you're putting addition on, the addition, the floor area, or the gross floor area, has to be less than 50% of the existing gross floor area of your non-conforming use.
I'm glad you're reading all this stuff.
Thank you. No,
If you want to catch up.
I could just be wrong. I don't know. I mean, but that's
feel like
something
you're
the
right.
board, the zoning board's
like you
dealt
got
with a
this.
bunch. It's you see it happen fairly frequently.
So as this town progresses towards almost a city at some point, this Walpole will be a city. When you look at the square footage and the amount of population, it could actually classify as a city. It's gonna get to that.
I don't think it ever
I don't-
will heritage
yeah.
the zoning in place.
I'm just saying, I said it could get to that.
I mean, Brookline's
But-
not a city.
Huh?
Brookline's not a city.
Really?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I don't think they're large enough square footage to be called a city. But anyway, that's just a side comment.
Yeah.
I mean, we're growing, that's what I'm saying. And you can't stop progress, and the fact that our location is so important feeds off of that. As we continue to build property, as we try to work on building the downtown, when are we ever going to address the waterways? You know,
Yeah.
the fact that our town was built on the Ponset River, the grist mills, the factories, everything from Walpole came from that waterway. Last night at town meeting, there was a lot of issues and controversies and debate on who runs the water, who's going to decide things moving in the future.
Yeah.
But we've always had an issue with the waterways because nobody knows or can track down who owns the dams to start. And the control of the dams has been an issue.
Yeah.
The waterways that used to be a lot fuller
Yep.
and accessible are not the way they used to be, whether it be the fishing holes behind Napper Tandy's that all the kids used to go to, the access to the Ponce River along the trails down on South Street, the crumbling bridge on Common Street, even some of the ponds that we have all degraded, and it's not visually pleasant to look at all that. So what I'm saying is, as we're growing, this stuff needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah.
Economic development, environment have to come together and try to work on those things. You know, I use an example of like South Natick Center. Have you ever been down there? And the dam that they have and the waterfall.
Yeah.
And people go there just to come out of park in their cars, get lunch, and look at the waterfall for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Not that that's going to be a gravitating thing for tons of the masses, but aesthetically, Walpole needs to really start to address some of that infrastructure. I mean, I know we've been in somewhat of a drought as well.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, since I own a property in South Walpole, go Patriots, but since the new Gillette Stadium, that water has not been the way it used to be. I don't know what they're doing up that way, capping it, damming it,
Yeah.
and then letting it through when they feel like it. But I think that's the start of it. But then controlling the water as it progresses through Walpole. Again, I'm not a water expert, but it needs to be addressed.
Yeah. In terms of the specifics, I couldn't, that's kind of where conservation comes in, and obviously even sewer and water, in terms of, I'm thinking of, well, in terms of infrastructure, that'd be more sewer and water. In terms of preservation, it would be conservation. In terms of just my view on it, in terms of what this, report and this kind of thought process is, Walpole's, one of the best assets of Walpole is its open space and its waterways. And I think preserving that is like paramount. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of the growth that we've happened, some of it's organic. I mean, most of it really is organically. Some of it's just a testament to 40B. Some of it's a testament for a few different scenarios. We have large tracts of land in the downtown with single ownership, and that's very uncommon. You see a 2 to 4 acre parcel, in a downtown location like this, and that's kind of been at least what I've kind of seen of why we see some of the developments that we've seen, is just because it's large stretches of land, and it's that's the growth that you have. But it would, to your point about the waterways, I completely agree. I mean, that's, I'm thinking of like even like East Walpole, that was a conversation for a while. Who owns the dam there? What happens to Bird Pond? Those are resources. And I think obviously, from a historical standpoint, that's where we saw a lot of that initial industrial growth. Everyone can, think about history and where that growth was built up, but a lot of those areas now predominantly residential. And I think if they're gonna be utilized, if they're gonna turn to residential in some of those locations, you wanna make sure those areas are cleaned up. And you brought up the example in Natick. I mean, that's a visually appeasing thing that, it's something you don't think of, but then when you realize it, you want to make sure you preserve that and have that as almost like a part of your town's character, or part of the charm of the location, which certainly matters and certainly comes into play.
Well, where the train station is too. Well,
Yeah.
not the train station, the post office.
Yep.
That pond there,
Yes.
it's the dam, that goes over the road. I mean, take a look at that, there's like trash barrels in there and trash, it's horrible.
Oh.
I mean, I think the business across the street from that owns it, the one that's the hardscape.
Yep.
Or something, I think they own that pond. That came with the purchase of that building. So, I mean, I don't know if there's controls in place or what the town can actually ask or require of some of these owners that we can
Some of it's
know who the owner
awareness.
is.
So I know, I'm not going to speak for conservation, but, I know our conservation agent will obviously deal with what's on their plate in terms of permitting, but even like something like that, I don't know, and I can obviously bring it up to her, but violations like that are not permissible. You know what I mean? You're not just supposed to pollute your waterways and throw trash in it, so that's something that.
I'm not saying the
Oh, I
business is
know,
doing
yeah.
it. It's just stupid people have done it. And
Yeah.
let it happen. And then it's just like he's sitting there probably saying, no, now I gotta go clean that up. I mean, he's not gonna really do that. And, you mentioned a problem was the 40B. You said the 40B,
I'm saying in terms of the type of growth we've seen over the past couple of years and where that's.
and if we continue to do a lot of construction and growth and development, like when they dredged Memorial Pond
Yeah.
and they used all that soil to go up to the fields, right? There's probably a lot of that there. So all the rivers, the dams, the ponds, they all need to be dredged and cleaned up.
Yeah.
And the vegetation needs to be taken out so they can thrive again.
Yeah.
But look at the resource that you have sitting there to use for these potential developments as well. So some of these, projects that are going in, if they need landfill, if they need whatever, here you go, here's a resource for you to use. We can be selling that or letting them take it, that takes a burden off of us
Yeah.
and gives them an asset,
Yeah, no, I mean, that element I'm not super familiar with, but I understand what you're saying for sure. I mean, if that's I think we've only dredged half of Memorial Pond, so there's definitely another half to go.
Yeah.
All right,
Stuff.
Good stuff.
on to the next, unless anyone has anything else. Should we do a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting? Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion to approve minutes. Need a second.
second.
No, I don't know if you can be the second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, so the approval of minutes from 9/16/25.
Aye. Yes, say aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining. Okay, oh, you weren't here, you're right. And then, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.